Hey people, and welcome to Dinner with the Ancestors. And the title, as you can see, is I'm removing the screen. I hate to look at myself. And the title, as you can see, is The Sins of the Father. Okay, now this is based on my religion, the Bantu religion, and the ancestors, right? Just FYI, we believe that the sin that was committed by your ancestor, whether it was 700 years ago or 900 years ago, like if he murdered somebody, it's usually murder. If one of your ancestors murdered somebody, you pay for it in this present life. You pay for it by the way you live your life. Like a lot of suffering is caused by what the ancestors did, what your ancestor did in the past. A lot of poverty, if you can't rise. A lot of emotional pain, depression, rage, you name it. A lot of things that just break down a human being and make them crawl are caused by the ancestor, the one before them. I think I have said this 1,000 times and I'll say it again. Being a witch doctor is actually a curse. Okay, we are chosen from homes of men and women who are dark side practitioners. They do so much evil and they contribute to the deaths of so many people that our God decides to fight from within. Our God always fights from within. So basically, our God, the God that we know, the God of light, the God that we love, the God of everything, the Creator, He believes in fighting from within. He doesn't believe that a war is out there. So for instance, when I say this, what I'm saying is that our God believes that the change is within you as a person. Okay, they don't gotta change. Okay, therefore there's no reason for you to go guns blazing because someone is making you unhappy. If someone is making you unhappy, angry, sad, our God insists that you look inside of yourself and you change yourself. By changing yourself, you are fixing the situation with this individual. In other words, if you're in a battered relationship, do not look at him to stop beating you. Look at yourself and ask yourself, why am I letting this happen to me? Right? And then make decisions that are good for yourself. And then decide, I'm never going to talk to this person again. I'm going to leave town, blah, blah. And then change your life. Don't try to change someone else's life. The dark side people work differently in that they try to change your life. They try to control your life. They try to tell you what to do. Right? Our God says, you change yourself. You tell yourself what to do. You put in the work of changing what's inside yourself. And so when God drops warriors to fight the dark side, He is very, very specific. He chooses the houses of darkness, the houses of the greatest darkness. And that's where He drops a witch doctor. When we had kings, every one child born to that royal family was a witch doctor. Okay, the royal family always had an in-house witch doctor. Example, me, because I come from a royal family, both ways. Okay, my Xhosa ancestors were royalty and my Shona ancestors are royalty. So even though my identity changed from Shona to Xhosa, it still turned out that my Xhosa grandfather was royalty, right? He was the son of a chief. He was royalty. And my family that I always believed I was major royalty, right? And in every royal family in my area, to every royal family was dropped a witch doctor. Basically, God was saying, where there's the seat of power is the worst evil, right? So in this instance, I say this, and this was the first thing that I was also told by a witch doctor when I was refusing the calling. And he looked me in the eye and he said, and it's actually in my book, the book I'm writing. It's going to be 100 pages only, people. But, and I'm going to call it a light in the cave, right? So anyway, in that book, I also said, he looked me in the eye and he said, you are paying for the sins of your parents. That's why you're a witch doctor. One of your parents was a great dark practitioner and is a great dark practitioner. They have caused a lot of death and a lot of suffering. And most of your suffering has been caused by that parent too, because the parent tends to attack the warrior that God drops into her house. In my case, my mother. Anyway, he said, really, you are the sacrifice. You are the sacrifice. You're sacrificed. You are paying for the sins of your mother. Right? And this goes to each and every one of us. We all pay for the sins of our ancestors. So just because your ancestor killed someone, ended up on death row, ended up being killed, and he paid his debts to society, not so with God, and not so in the metaphysical metaphysical world. That stain keeps going and keeps going, and it is picked up by generation and generation and generation, right? And so you have to cleanse yourself of the sins of your ancestors. You really have to. Now, in my tribe, I find it awkward to even call them that now, but let me say, in the tribe I grew up in, they have lots of ceremonies on how to cleanse yourself of what your ancestors did, right? Of the harm your ancestors might have done that you are paying for. They have all sorts of rituals, people, and I know they work, but this is the first world now, and a lot of my people are also very cut off from, the culture in the very same way. A lot of Bantus are very cut off from the culture. And so I say it to all of you at once. Really, guys, at this stage, in this modern stage, right? How do you cleanse yourself of the sins of the father? By taking a cleansing bath. I've decided. Because I'm looking at the rituals that are done to cleanse yourself of the sins of the father, meaning the sins of your ancestors, so that you are not affected, so that you're not poor because they killed someone, so that you're not poor because they stole from somebody, because you're not poor because they broke a saw. Like, we have two types of deaths. We have the death of the person and we have the death of the soul. You could still be alive, but someone could have messed you up so bad that your soul is dead, right? How do we cleanse ourselves of all that shit? I say by taking a cleansing bath, because I'm thinking of all the rituals that are done, right? And they are really elaborate, and they are different according from one witch doctor to the next, to the next, to the next. Some witch doctors, there is some kind of a sacrifice that is required, right? Usually it's either chicken or goat or sheep, one of those three: chicken, goat, or sheep. And then the witch doctor will do something with either the chicken, the goat, or the sheep. and then they was, that's their apology. It's almost biblical. Like, if you look at the sacrifices in the Bible, more or less the same. So it is like, forgive me, please forgive me of the sins committed by my ancestors, and forgive my ancestors for the sins that they committed. And here is my sacrifice. Here is my sacrifice for the sins that they committed. Okay, here's my sacrifice. Okay, like, get on with it. Like, it's what, forgive them. So now I'm trying to, me and my grandmothers, I talk about my grandmothers because I'm not allowed to talk about my grandfathers. They are here with me because I have 4 ancestors, but their names remain secret because of security reasons in the metaphysical world. Okay. It's interesting how in the metaphysical world they like to grab male ancestors. They don't give a fuck about the female ones. So anyway, we're thinking, so basically, this is what my grandmother is saying. That's why my eyes are closed, because I'm listening to her. She says, you just need to make a dinner. The dinner must have a sacrifice meat. And you just need to say to the meat before you cook it, please accept my sacrifice for the sins committed by my ancestors, and please forgive me of the sins committed by my ancestors, right? And then she says, you need to grill the meats. It's either to be chicken, sheep, or goat. You need to grill it, right? And then you need to eat it and give some of it away. So basically, you're going to look for neighbors that you can knock on the door and say, do you want some grilled chicken? Do you want some grilled chicken? Look what I made. I made some grilled chicken. She says you need to give it away. Then she says, then after that, you will take a cleansing bath. You will use a herb of your choice, an herb of your choice. You can find, cleansing herbs all over the internet. One of your choice, you buy it and then you hold it in your hand, and then you instruct it, you give it instructions. You say, please cleanse me of the sins of my forefathers. Then you take a bath, then you are clean. I can't stress how important this is, people. I really can't stress it. A lot of our poverty, a lot of our suffering, a lot of our repeat cycles, same thing happening to us generation over generation over generation. In my religion, in the Bantu religion, it is all put at the feet of those bad ancestors who did bad things and did not atone for it. So I hope that helps. For those who say they are vegetarian and they want to put tofu and they want... I'm not knocking vegetarianism. I think I would be 100 pounds lighter if I was a vegetarian. But in this instance, you might just... There are really no substitutions to the ancestors. But I'm working on an alcoholic substitution. I'm working on that because I do know alcoholism is a big problem, and I know that, and I keep it, So I am working on that. But other than that, for now, there are no substitutions to, our religion is very closely related to Christianity. We are older than Christianity. In fact, we accuse Christianity of taking some of our stuff and putting it in that book. We also say the same about other religions, that there's they took a lot of our stuff. We are very far removed from the goddess and goddesses of the Ifa people, if they exist, or the Yoruba people. I know the Yoruba people exist. Of the Yoruba people of West Africa, they have their own thing going on there. We are more closely related to Judaism, and some of our tribes still practice Orthodox Judaism, but it's still our religion. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. Some of our Bantu tribes still practice the very, very first thing that was labeled as Judaism, but it's not. It's really our religion that was labeled, because we didn't label our religion. We didn't label it. So those who came across it labeled it for us when they came across it. So our religion is very closely related to Judaism, and it's very closely related to Christianity, because we understand that both those religions, they took components of our religion to create their own. For instance, in Judaism, there are those women who shave their heads and wear wigs, right? And I find it very fascinating that my ancestors would rather I wear wigs whenever I do these readings, or whenever I'm about to do anything spiritual for YouTube. But if I'm not doing it for YouTube, obviously I don't do much for YouTube. But if I'm not doing it for YouTube and I'm just at home and I'm doing spiritual things, I wear the head wrap, right? I have to keep my hair wrapped at all times when I'm doing spiritual things, and the wig replaces the wrap, right? And if you think about those Jewish women who actually shave their actual hair and put on wigs, right? Things like that. So you would find more of a similarity with Judaism and Christianity with our Bantu religion than with, the Yoruba thing. That's the Yoruba religion. Yeah. Okay. So you would do that. So if the Bible has no substitutions, basically, this is long-winded and crazy, but if the Bible has no substitutions, why would you want to create substitutions, right? Does the Bible have substitutions? Jesus turned water into wine, and there is no tofu in the Bible, right? However, I do know that I can get a substitution for alcohol, because my ancestors have more or less, it has to be something that represents longevity, and it has to be a drink. It has to represent eternity, longevity, and it has to be a drink. And if somebody can think up some drinks that are non-alcoholic that represent that, I'll be so grateful if you could put them down on underneath this. And if you can find something in the Bible or in Judaism that's used in a similar fashion, I'll also take that, because highly likely they got it from us in the first place. That's what we have been told for a long time, right? That's what we have been told. So anyway, if you can find something in the Bible and in the Jewish Bible, I actually know it, but it has escaped my mind. Whatever, that they also used for ritualistic purposes as a form of a drink that is not alcohol, please write it down so that I can put it in front of my grandmothers and we can work out a substitution for the alcohol. Okay. Other than that, thank you very much for this one and for this dinner with the ancestors. And I already got my timeline. Today is 2 October, and I already got my timeline. I got it. I think it was 3 a.m. yesterday. I already got it, and I'm still trying to work it out, because my grandmother said, oh, God has added requests you made in your 20s into your timeline. And that's the big change. The big change is that the things I asked for in my 20s have now been added into my timeline in my future. And then they asked me, do you remember what you asked for? And I was like, damn. I probably asked for the boy next door. That's the bad part. That's the bad part. So, hey, guess what? I'm still in the dark as to my future, okay? Because he chose my requests from my 20s and he discarded my current requests. He literally went to my 20s and took those. Maybe they were stronger, maybe they were more pure, maybe they were better than the requests I then did after my 20s. But my 20s was like 20 years ago. So I don't remember, but I did get my timeline like I told you that I would. On that note, guys, thank you very much. And once again, please let me know if you can find a drink in the Bible or in the Jewish Bible that is also used for ritualistic purposes, and I'll put it in front of my grandmother's. But for meat, the good thing about doing some of these rituals, like the one to the, the sins of the father, you don't have to eat the meat. You just have to have it. You just have to grill it. And I totally understand vegetarianism. And this is my last thing. I totally get it. I totally support it. And I almost became a vegetarian myself until I started working with herbs, right? And I realized that herbs do talk. Herbs talk. Trees talk. Everything is alive and it talks. And it has family and it has relationships and it has a purpose. Everything has a purpose. So then I said to my aunt, okay, so this is really hard. I was actually thinking of trying vegetarianism because I felt like I was a murderer. But now, if I eat vegetables, I'm still a murderer. But that's my personal issue, okay? That's my personal issue. I'm like, both ways I'm still a murderer because I'm talking to these herbs and they're talking to me and they're just as alive as I am. And now I'm like, okay. So my aunt just laughed at me. I said, okay. So like, basically what nature is trying to tell me, because I'm also an animal, I'm a part of nature. What nature is telling me is that everything that lives has to kill something that lives in order to live. Yeah, I have to think about that some more. Okay. Bye, guys. Bye.